Hey guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Okay, so I got a good one for you today. Jose and Kitty Menendez. First of all, I knew this case because it was the first case I watched their first trial from start to finish on court TV. Anyway, um, so let's get started. I did a bunch of research, which I didn't need. So it's currently snowing here, you guys. So over this weather, I'm ready for spring. Okay, so on the evening of August 20th, 1989, Jose and Kitty Menendez were sitting on a couch in the den of their home in Beverly Hills when Lyle and Erik Menendez entered the den and killed them, shot them and killed them. Okay, so when Erik and Lyle returned home later that night, Lyle called 911 and shouted, "Someone killed my parents." When the police came, the brothers told them that they went to the theater to see Batman and then to the annual Taste of LA festival at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium during the murders. The police did not order the brothers to go through gunshot residue tests. Why? Um, in the months after the murders, the brothers began to lavishly spend money, adding suspicion. Okay, so Lyle bought a $200 Rolex or something to that effect. He bought a new Porsche Carrera. They both abandoned the home that they killed their parents in and bought like condos that were adjoining um, in Marina Del Rey. Okay, so a lot of crap, right? Okay, so during the early stages of the investigation, the police tried to narrow the search down to people who would have motive to kill Jose and Kitty. They also investigated potential mob leads. The reason they investigated potential mob leads was because I think Lyle said, oh, it was probably the mob. My dad was into some really bad business stuff. So as it continued, they thought the brothers were most likely the culprits since they had obvious financial motives, okay? So they tried to get a confession from Erik, the younger one. They had Craig Signorelli, his friend, wired up, and he went and talked to Erik and said, "Did you kill your parents?" And Erik was like, "No." Okay, so then Erik then went to Jerome Oziel, his psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist led him to believe it was, off the record that he couldn't report him. So Erik told him what they did. Lyle got pissed off and threatened Dr. Oziel. So then Dr. Oziel brought his mistress, what's her name, Judalon Smith, in, and she like eavesdropped and everything. So then both of them, I guess, went to the police. Okay. All right. So Lyle was arrested March 8th, 1990. Erik turned himself in 3 days later after he got back from Israel from tennis tournaments. Okay. Let's see. So in August of 1990, Judge James Albrecht stated that the taped conversations between Erik and Oziel were admissible since Lyle violated the doctor-patient privilege by threatening Dr. Oziel. So then that was appealed, so that took 2 years. 2 freaking years. So they were both eventually convicted. So their first trial was a mistrial, okay? They went on to be retried immediately. Both brothers were eventually convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and in the penalty phase of the trial, they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Okay. On July 2nd, 1996, Judge Weisberg sentenced the brothers to life in prison without the possibility of parole, which I just said, and also sentenced them to consecutive sentences for the murders and the charges of conspiracy to commit murder. Just like in their pretrial detention, the California Department of Corrections separated them. So they were both put into separate maximum security prisons. Okay, so February 2018, Lyle was moved to the same prison that Erik was at. They saw each other, they cried, they hugged, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So, July 2nd, 1996, Lyle married Anna Erickson, whoever she is, at a ceremony attended by Abramson and his aunt Marta Menendez, which was presided over by Judge Nancy Brown, but they ended up divorcing April 1st, 2001. Look at that. April Fool's Day. After Erickson discovered that Lyle was cheating on her with another woman, how do you cheat with someone when you can't even touch them? Like, Okay, in November 2003, Lyle married Rebecca Sneed at a ceremony in a Supermax prison visiting area of Mule Creek State Prison. They had known each other for around 10 years prior to becoming engaged. June 12th of 99, Erik married Tammy Ruth Sackanon at Folsom State Prison in a prison waiting room. Yippee. Okay, so while I was trying to connect with him, I was suddenly able to see like these visions, right? And it was Jose clearly in sexual relations with other women. And unfortunately, two of the ones that I saw looked extremely young. It kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, like maybe they were underage. I don't know that for sure, but they looked pretty young. So I was trying to push all that aside. He came through. He began yelling and screaming at me, "Do you know who I am?" Yeah, you're a guy that used to be a psycho, that's still a psycho, apparently. So after he continued like being belligerent, calling me names and threatening me, I just shut him down like that because no, I needed to get that energy away. Okay. All right. So then I said, okay, let me try to connect with Kitty. And of course, I was hoping that I wouldn't have a repeat of Jose. She came through. She wasn't like her husband. She was really kind of almost shy and timid and maybe even a little bit awkward. I explained who I was and that I wanted to talk to her, and she immediately burst into tears. I finally was able to calm her down, and I said, "Look, I just want to talk to you." And she went on to say that I deserve to be here. I deserve to spend eternity here. And, I could tell immediately she hadn't crossed over into a good place. Let's just put it that way, okay? She went on to explain that not only was she a horrible person, but she was a horrible mom. She said from the beginning she didn't feel like she had a motherly instinct like most women do, but she wanted to be a mom. And Jose had, in no uncertain terms, said, if we're going to get married, you're going to give me kids. So, she went on to talk about that she didn't want to resent Lyle like she did. And I found that like really odd because why would you resent one of your kids? You know what I mean? So I was like, why would you resent Lyle? So she went on to say when he was like 5 or 6 that Jose worked long, hard hours, and that when he came home, which later she says that the working long, hard hours wasn't necessarily what he was doing, if you know what I mean. She said he would come home and put all his focus on Lyle. And she said, I was jealous. And I'm like, didn't you have Erik? And yeah. But I guess when Erik was real little, Jose didn't spend a lot of time with him. This whole conversation, you guys, it was weird. She went on to say, Jose thought she was naive and stupid. She said, I wasn't naive and stupid. I knew exactly what he was doing at all times. I saw the money that was being spent, So, so she's apparently talking about when he had other women and he would lavish them with gifts. And she said there were times in the beginning when he would lavish them with gifts with money they didn't even have. They were struggling at the beginning of their marriage. Okay, so she went on to say that once they moved to California, everything changed. And I said, okay, explain what everything changed meant. So she went on to talk about, Jose was gone all the time. There were long hours. He was with nonstop women. And it was her and the boys. I said, well, you were just talking about, in the beginning of your marriage, you were spending money that you all didn't have on other women. So she went on to say, I said, why didn't he leave? And she said, I had 2 kids with him. I loved him. And he always told me if I was loyal to him, then he would reward me. So I had these hopes and dreams that once he retired, we would have an amazing life. And so I just stood by him. Hey guys, D minor. She came in here, she's all wet because she just went out for a walk in the snow with her daddy. So just wanted to let her say hey. Um, okay, so I tried to get her like redirected and I said, okay, let's talk about Erik and Lyle. And she went on to say that she had so much resentment towards Jose in the way that he treated the boys. She said if he wasn't being a drill sergeant, grilling them with questions, um, he was on them, screaming at them that they didn't do something right with their tennis practice, or, Lyle's case with his Princeton grades. She said he was constantly writing them about something. And she said that made her resent him, being Jose, even more. So she went on to explain in more detail, I forgot about this part, about how Lyle was stupid, according to Jose. That Lyle was stupid and that that Jose expected Lyle to follow in his footsteps to become a successful businessman. And I guess he would say Lyle's too stupid to do that because Lyle couldn't pass his college classes at Princeton. Yeah, that kind of threw me off a little bit. So he went on to talk about how Jose expected them to be smart. He didn't want them to just skate through life, right? He wanted them to work his tail off like he did. Wow. So, according to Kitty, about the time that Lyle was 7 or 8, it was brought to her attention that Jose was harming Lyle. So she confronted Jose in their bedroom, and she said, she was quiet about it because she didn't want the boys to hear. And Jose balled his fist and punched her in her left eye. She then fell back on the bed. And he then grabbed her from behind the neck and pulled her up and told her that he would kill her if she ever brought that up again. And then if anybody outside of that house ever found out about it, he would kill her and the boys. True story, is what she said. She went on to talk about how she numbed her pain, she drank, and she was also on Valium. And she said she drank and took the Valium pretty regularly. So she said she had discovered that Jose was also harming Erik, and she did nothing about it. She did say in the future there were 2 other times when she confronted Jose. She said she was drunk both times. He proceeded to beat her up both times, pretty good apparently. She said she then just erased the episodes from her mind. Do what? Your mom. These are your kids. How can you, quote, erase an episode from your mind? I mean, what the hell? That would have been. So, I kind of felt like she was pulling away. So I said, did Jose ever say anything about planning on killing the boys? And she laughed and said, absolutely not. They were his sons. Say what? He was molesting them. He was smacking them if they did anything wrong. I don't know. This whole thing was just. Yeah, I had a tough time shaking that off. That was tough. All right, let me see here. So I asked her. I felt like she was pulling away once again. So I said, "Why don't you tell me about that last night?" She said they had eaten dinner, and that her and Jose went to the den. They were watching TV. They were talking about their day. They were talking about a couple things that they had planned that were coming up. Like one was like a trip. They were going somewhere. And she had gotten ice cream. They were eating ice cream. And she said she remembers talking to Jose. Excuse me. So she remembers talking to him. They ate their ice cream, and then she remembers talking to him some more. She was kind of half watching TV, half not. And then she said the next thing she remembers, she was woken up to 3 loud sounds. Her instinct was obviously to jump up. She said there was smoke everywhere, and it smelled strange. She said she didn't know if she knew that smell, but yet she felt like she did. Of course, she was talking about gunpowder, but. And she said she was trying to get out of the room to get to safety because at this point she didn't know what the hell was going on. She was running. She said she felt like a tinge of pain and she kept running. And then she slipped and fell. And then she said she kind of looked over and she saw Lyle with a gun. She said, like, through the smoke, she could see him and he was like shooting his dad, shooting her husband. So I said, where you're at, you see Jose? And she's like, yeah, I've seen him a few times. She said after she realized that she had died, she knew that Erik and Lyle had shot and killed them. I asked if she had a moment to speak with Erik and Lyle, what would she say to them? And she said, I would say, why? Not, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I should have grabbed you and ran. We should have got out of there. I'm so sorry I was a horrible mother. I'm so sorry I didn't love you enough. I'm so sorry I didn't do this. I'm so sorry that, my betrayal of you led to this. Like, you guys. So, she's stuck where she's at and she put herself there, So be kind, be nice, stay safe, stay healthy, and watch the Super Bowl as my Chiefs beat the Bucks and Tom Brady. He's going down. I hope anyway. Yeah, the snow just stopped, which I'm grateful for because I'm tired of snow and I want the spring to come. We don't normally get snow like this out here, I think that's about it. That about does it for me. Thanks.